right, pulling up to the profit lands. Let's get it. Ooh. Welcome to the profit land. Never time I tell I went to war with real killers. I'm your wife, you 30, dog. I kill a little feelings.
Microphone check. 1, 2. This is the Social Prophet. And I'm back at it with a very, very special guest. Everybody give a round of applause for Brooklyn's finest.
The Brooklyn
you want to be
bullshit.
called?
We on bullshit. We on it. I'm just going to go with King of New York.
All right, King of New York. All right. So, just to give like a little backstory, we work together and we talk on the phone every morning, and all we do basically is talk about relationships.
Right.
If you think about it, that's all we really talk about is like women, intersexual dynamics is the word. That's what they call it. All right. Now, some would say red pill, right? Now, I think so I'm just trying to get to like the meat of what we're going to talk about. I want to kind of so basically, like some people watching this don't know me. If you like, I know the red pill inside and out, right? And I agree with like so much of the red pill, okay? But what's confusing about it, because I listen to shit all day. When I listen to Kevin Samuels and when I listen to Fresh and Fit and when I listen to like Andrew Tate, like it seems like, and I'm going to prove it in this whole thing, like it seems like they're all saying the same thing, but they're really not. And when you like put it all together, it doesn't even make sense. A lot of it to me, okay, if you like really break it down. So I could easily sit here and talk about why men get taken advantage of, right? And why men have a legit beef. But for the sake of like the podcast, the viewers and like entertainment, I'm going to kind of channel like a woman's point of view in a sense of like, I talk to my wife all the time about this shit too, and Lackawanna's wife, right? And like I'm a father, I have 2 kids, and I'm married. Okay, so I'm actually not, I'm almost kind of like, I know what women say too, right? So when I say shit, I just want you to know, and them like, I'm just playing devil's advocate to that ideology, and I'm gonna like push it as far as it can go to see if it can like stand. Right? So, like, I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just letting you know. I'm not saying I disagree with any of this shit. I know the other side. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm just letting them know because, like, I'm kind of cold. What, like, I see a lot, like, when people try to, like, poke at, like, the red pill ideology, it's like people always just go right to like cock liberal. They don't even actually like hear it out. So I'm trying to give like a good pushback to the red pill shit. Okay, so let's just start with sorry if I'm talking too much.
No, as you should, bro.
All right. So I want to start. Should change. Oh, I see it. All right. Fuck. All right. I want to start with this. Right. I have like a quote I said. Okay. And this is where I think like I don't know what to call it, but just like the core of this red pill versus women shit. All right. Because I said, and you know this quote, okay? I said, I think most of the fights going on right now between men and women, what it's coming down to is, all right, so I'm going to say a quote I've been saying where I think this is like the core of the women versus red pill ideology. I said this quote, okay? Tell me if you agree with this. And this is probably, most guys will agree with this, okay? like right now, I feel like most fights between like men and women right now at its core is that while like the standard for a man has remained the same, any standard a man has for a woman, they call it misogynistic, right? So meaning like a woman, a woman could want like like expect a man to like take out the trash and be a gentleman and like open the car door and like pay for everything, right? Like that's okay. They're allowed to have that. But like anything we say, like fucking like we want them to be a certain weight or we want them to be more of a homemaker, they call that like misogynistic. And there's like a clash right now between like women wanting too much and not being worthy of what they think they're worth.
Right. So, like, my pushback on that is that women use this word as toxic when a man is, asking a woman to do something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't find certain things appropriate. They'll use jealous, they'll use toxic in that way. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of women don't even know what misogynistic means. They don't. Misogyny, they have no clue what it is. You could ask a bunch of women and be like,
Right.
I
What's
don't
the definition of it?
It's just a trigger word, right?
Yeah.
But in an instance like that, like they just don't want to take accountability for it. So when you hold a woman accountable, they would use that as like a gaslighting term to
Right.
make you feel some way that what you're doing is not right, which is right to you.
Right.
But they try to just change your idea on that and guilt trip you and make you feel bad about
Yeah.
it.
Well, see, I think like the struggle, this is how I see it, okay? The struggle for a woman now, okay, is that like half of her wants to be independent and the other half wants to be married with kids, okay? And like I think there's like a fine line between like like I feel like most men are not worthy of a woman's submission. Okay? And before I kind of went down this rabbit hole of red pill shit, I was actually on more of like annoyed about men, because like I see most men, I know what you're going to say too, but like I see most men who are like not a leader. It's like everybody thinks they're like an entrepreneur, but it's like everybody also thinks they're a leader, and not everybody's a leader. Okay, and I feel like men nowadays they're taking like a lot of men are taking like just bad bits and pieces of like everybody's advice. There's just like it's hard because we have like we've been talking about this so much, and like there's so many like things to get to with this whole shit.
So many different points to make out here. So.
Yeah. So fuck.
My whole thing is when women look at submitting as
There we go. Thank you.
Like bad, it's awful because a lot of women have a lot of masculine energy, and when a woman is with a man and she feels that she's just more superior than this man, she doesn't want to be with that man because at some point in time she feels that she wants to deal with a guy that's on her level.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes to.
Yeah.
And women have been brainwashed since the 60s to go out and go work. You could do what the man could do and this, that, and the fourth, and it destroys homes.
Yeah.
Because when a woman becomes successful, she thinks the first thing that comes to her mind is, I don't need a man.
Yeah.
When a man becomes successful, the first thing he wants to do is like, I want to have a family. I want to provide at some point.
Yeah.
And that's where it clashes, especially dealing with women that have careers.
Okay. Now that's like a good point. Okay. Now, what I say to that is so men's whole ideology basically in this shit is like, we're the providers, we're the protectors, we are gonna take care of you, we want you to submit to us, and we want you guys to like submit to us, right? And like not work. Like a lot of guys don't want their girl to work and shit. So like, don't you think if that's what men are asking, that a woman should be picky about the guy and wanting him to be able to provide, because like men are the ones saying like we provide, we provide, we provide, and then women are like, well, I want a guy that can like provide, and they're like, oh, you just care about, it's like, but that's what you guys are saying you want them to care about, or like that's what you do. So if I'm a woman and I'm gonna submit to a guy, like I'm gonna want to submit to a guy who's above me, or just like worthy of it. But I think most women, you know, like men say like there's no good women out there now, right? So it's like most men, I feel like it's the same between like a truly good man who doesn't cheat and like a good woman who's like a just like a stay-at-home mom. Like I feel like that's like a rare combination. You know? And like I think my problem with the whole red pill shit is like they're always like women should be accountable, like women should be accountable, but it's like there's no accountability, a lot of it in men. You know? Like men just blame women for everything, but like this is we're going to clip this right here, okay? Here's a question that we're going to clip and I'm going to put a fucking thumbnail on, all right? Okay. Whose fault is it for having a baby? Like, so when there's a baby born out of wedlock, because that's what's happening, right? All these babies are being born out of wedlock. There was a man, there was a woman, and they had sex. So I just want to hear you. Like, I'm not going to talk to you. Like, whose fault is it for getting pregnant? Should a man have any accountability for coming in all these girls and getting all these girls pregnant? Like by the fourth one, fifth one, like at what point is he just as bad as her by doing that, by having all these illegitimate kids to mothers that aren't worthy of taking care of a kid? They know that she's like she's like a club girl. Then he knocks her up, and like, what do you expect from that? You know. So
my take on that, I would mostly blame the woman for that. And okay. The reason I'm going to blame the woman for that is because women control access to sex. We cannot have sex without their permission, right? There are different steps where you could take birth control and things of that nature. What happened is women stopped being traditional, and since they're being virgins, you will wait and sit here and be like, I'm going to wait and get married. Why would you give a man something of that great value? Yeah. And expect nothing to happen from it. So at some point, women have to take some type of accountability for it, because you pick this man. Women have the option to pick any man they choose. Okay. So you pick this man, you decide to have unprotected sex with this man, and you should understand the consequences with that.
Yeah, but like, okay, I'm glad you said that. Okay, but like, say when I listen to like Fresh and Fit. Okay, Myron was telling it. I'll play a clip right here so people know who we're talking about. All right, here's a perfect fucking example. Like Myron was talking about a girl he invited over. Okay, and then we've talked about this before, right? He invited a girl over and she didn't want to fuck, so he got kind of like mean, and he was like, "Well, then get the fuck out." And then he went in the other room, and then he like called a girl because he said it like makes girls jealous and it gives them pressure and shit, you know? So it's like, what are women supposed to do? Like they're saying, and he was like, you disrespected me. She disrespected me, you know? So it's like for a woman, I'd be thinking like, so if I don't fuck you, I'm disrespecting you and wasting your time. But then if I do fuck you, I'm like a hoe. You know what I'm saying? Then like when a girl comes on these shits, like I want a guy to wait. I wait like 3 months. They're like 3 months, 3 months. And they start talking shit, you know? And then you wouldn't even give a chance to a woman that would make you 3 months. But that's the type of woman you would want, is a woman. Like I always tell this story to like my wife. Like I remember the first time she like we didn't have sex, right? And I was like, I got blue balls and I was annoyed, but you know what, like years later I fucking like respect that. Like I actually like am glad, because when I think back and say like other situations she's in, I can believe that she wouldn't do it, because she had you know, she like didn't with me, and that's like a good quality. But men, you fucking this is everything, like just every type of man, like you degrade women when they don't fuck, and then when they do, it's like then they're a fucking hoe. And then if hypothetically, I'll let you talk, hypothetically, if women literally listen to Myron and Fresh and Fit and all them, who would you guys be fucking? There'd be no girls to fuck, hypothetically, if they all waited. And it's like, so it's like I feel like they can't win either way. That's what I'm trying to say about the ideology is like no matter how you spin it, when you take all their like women just can't fucking win.
Okay, so I'm gonna give a little pushback on the whole Myron thing. So how the story really went, I'm just paraphrasing.
Speak up a little bit and get a little.
Like I'll give a little bit of pushback on the whole Myron situation, right? Because I remember that situation with him, and he did have a lady at his house, and she refused to engage in some sexual activity. So what he did was he took his phone out and called another girl in front of her and invited her over, and then told the girl, hey, I'm calling an Uber for you, I got somebody else coming over. And from my recollection, he was like, she straightened up a little bit and met up with him. The second thing about that I'm going to actually say is that these are men of high value. These are like, this is not the average guy. He's a millionaire. He got his money. He got his shit together. So he's not the average guy. And this is another thing that goes to accountability that you just mentioned with Kirby. You see how Kirby stopped you and did not allow you to have sex with her?
Yeah.
Because that is her responsibility. That goes back to what I said. Women have to take accountability.
I know, but hypothetically, I could have been a dick and been like Myron and been like, oh, because me, I can get girls, you know what I'm saying? I'm not hurting, like I could get a girl, you know? So hypothetically speaking, if I acted like Myron, like right now I have like 2 beautiful daughters, I have a house, I have a yard, I have like a great wife who like is like, I feel like even though like I steer the ship and I'm the leader, like she helps a lot with like a lot of back end shit. That like I really appreciate, and I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's like a 50-50, like literally like in even probably more, like she probably does more, and she does, I know, like I mostly work and I come home and like I really appreciate that. But if I was like Myron and had that mindset, which these guys do, you could say like, oh, Myron's high value, but the problem is he just talks and talks and it looks cool. So guys who aren't high value, who think they're fucking high value, treat women like they're high value. It's the same thing as like women who look at Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion and act like Meg. They'll even give examples like, well, Cardi B and Offset or whatever, but they're not fucking Cardi B. So they're anomalies are like Russell Wilson and Sierra and like those type of couples, But the same thing for me is with men, with Andrew Tate and Myron. Like you get, not you, I'm just in general, maybe even you, like you guys, but just in general, don't take anything personal. I'm just saying,
I don't know.
Hypothetically, you guys are acting like you're them and you're not. Most men wouldn't even be able to provide for a family. So they're talking about like, oh, submit to me and, I'll provide. You can barely, not you, just in general, you can barely even afford your own life. And now you want a wife with kids and shit. And then so if she gets a job, so then if she doesn't work, like, you know what I mean? So she's supposed to submit to some guy just because, and then he can't even provide for a family, but she's supposed to just like trust him, even though like his history isn't even a good history. It's not even like if he was a resume. Like if you looked at everybody as a resume, like what's your resume for a girl, And I'm just saying, like, I just understand why it's confusing for them, or like they don't know what the fuck are they supposed to do. There's like a double standard of like men always saying like they think they're this and that, but like men do too, like most men are not high value, but that ideology makes you feel like it is. So like in the end, I look at me in my life and like Myron would have not called Kirby back, right? Fuck you, bitch. You wasted my time. I called her back. Look at my life. And hypothetically, Myron, he's like high value. But if I acted like Myron, I wouldn't even have dated her. I would have just been like, fuck you, bitch. So like Myron is always talking about there's no girls, there's no whatever. But like he wouldn't even know, because the good girl, he wouldn't have patience for the good girl. And lots of men are just like Myron, where they don't have patience for a good girl. So, like, what the fuck are they supposed to do? Does that make sense, though?
No, it doesn't. But in that regard, especially with Kirby, at that point, you was looking to court Kirby. And that is a different standpoint when you look at that situation. But Myron, he comes from, you could say that, the top 10% of men, guys that's making 100,000, like we are those men when you look at it, because we make that, right? So yeah. I'm a man of high value, as the market would say, because you make over 100,000, right? In that regard,
I'm just looking at notes, by the way. Don't think I'm like looking.
Yeah,
at notes
in that regard, it's like it took us years to get to where we're at, right?
Yeah.
We had to work hard. We had to, bust our ass to get to where we're at. And especially when you're single and you meet a woman at the end, she's pretty much at the finish line.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay,
like,
so let me ask you a question, though. Do you think, like, don't you think, though, like, most men who are single and slightly high value, we'll just say, like, slightly, like, do you think they also aren't courting? They're just too busy fucking, so here's this is gonna like transition to something else, okay? And because I'm not even saying actually anything I say, I don't even need an answer from you. I'm just giving the other point. If somebody's watching, you don't even have to like prove, like, what I'm saying. I'm just giving the other side. This isn't like a me versus you thing.
No. It's for the podcast.
Okay,
All right,
yeah.
there's no animosity here, bro. We going,
I'm just
This is not one of those type of podcasts where we're doing like, oh, don't ask me this question. We can't talk about, bro. We talking about whatever.
All right. So listen. My beef with, especially with these like red pill ideologies on YouTube, who get radicalized and like you don't realize, like as you're listening to channels and channels, it's getting like more and more and more and more extreme. And it's fun. I love listening to like Kevin Samuels talk to a girl and like just totally. You know what I'm saying? It's fun. Like I love when men talk shit on women and women talk shit on men. It's fun. Like you get addicted to it. It's like a drug. It's like a hate drug, right? So I feel like people chase ideologies too much. I'm gonna get to a whole point. All right, with like MAGA and like red pill and even feminism, it all just gets too extreme. So I'm trying to like jump in the middle of it. I'm actually working on a book. That's what it's about. Like trying to jump in the middle before it goes too far left and right. Then there might be a picture of me like trying to fucking pull them back in. Like hold on. Okay. So listen, like this is Andrew Tate's newest video that he just did with Aiden Ross, okay?
Okay.
And I'm not even going to talk about the rape stuff, like, just whatever. I want to talk about, like, the ideologies. That's, like, drama. That's just, like, his own shit. We're talking about the ideologies. Like, Andrew Tate, I just want anybody watching, like, forget that shit. We're talking just what they say, okay?
Right.
I don't even want to get in that whole thing. I don't know. You don't know. Like, whatever, So watch this video and tell me that, like, sometimes why you have to see an ideology through, and a lot of these guys are young and they're talking all this shit, and then now listen, here's where he's at now in his head. Tell me if this is anything like how he started, and why you shouldn't chase these influencers because they change their mind all the time, and like you don't realize like you're changing your mind as they're changing their mind. So you like think you're like you don't think you're being manipulated but you are. Like you are digging in more and more and more, and it can make sense because like there's, like I said, there. All right, so anyways, here's the newest clip that I found interesting.
Children. The woman doesn't do that. The woman keeps the children alive while the man's away. So I'm saying that a woman who understands that being a mother is the best thing she could possibly be will be a good mother. Miami girls don't think that. Miami think that girls think that get the most Instagram followers and go to the best club nights matters more. And I don't want to sleep with a woman who I'm not going to have a future and a family with anymore. I don't want to do that. I've slept with thousands of women, Nathan. Thousands of women. You could put them in front of me, I wouldn't be able to remember most of their names. It's bullshit. But it's pointless. Like, it was fun at the time. I'm not complaining. I've had more sex than any man could possibly dream of. I had 75 beautiful women working for me. I've done all of it. And I'm not saying it's necessarily inherently bad, but you get to a point where you understand that it's a waste of your energy, it's a waste of your masculine imperative. I'll tell you another thing. A lot of men like sleeping with girls because of the ego hit, right? So when you get a lot of these other Twitch streamers who think they're famous.
No, he's not. It's interesting. I think.
See, like he said, it's interesting that that's not how he was talking before, right? So now, really, like, I had another quote in this book I'm doing, okay? And it said, I said, like, if you notice, the older you get, the more conservative you get, okay? And basically what I mean by that is, like, it seems like the older you get, the more reasonable you are and the more logical you are, I might keep burping. My dad always says, like, when he was my age, he was like a hippie and he was whatever, and you like calm down, you kind of like see it. So I think like seeing how Andrew Tate progressed right there in his ideology and like what he's saying about like I don't sleep with women, I don't see a future in it anymore. Why? Because it's stupid. It's a waste of energy, and like that's what I'm trying to say. That like sex is like an empty draw. It's like it feels good and shit. It's almost like watching porn though. Like when you're done, you feel dirty. You know, you almost feel like, oh, what did I do? Especially if it's a girl you weren't proud of, right? But then you go on YouTube and like, yeah, fuck all these girls, fuck all these girls. But like I would argue that like even though I'm a man and I have like desires and stuff, like most guys are trying to get to like what I'm getting at or what I have. Okay. And it's like when I speak to them, nobody listens to me and they make fun of me and they call me fucking like, oh, you cock, like your wife, check her DMs. She definitely got somebody like when I comment to them and shit. And it's like, motherfuckers, like you guys claim you all like want a family and a good girl. And I'm like showing you one and you're saying I'm like a cock or I'm like a sellout. So it's like when women fucking like men always say like, oh, single moms are making fucking women hate men, you know, but like I feel like they're making men hate women, you know, by finding all like the worst ones. And like you know, I know like there's a lot of bad like women out there, but like I feel like equally with men too. They're weak. They're broken down. They don't have any leadership skills. They can't even hold a job, and they think they're gonna lead a family. Like it doesn't even make sense. And like I know a lot of these guys do talk about self improvement, but not in the arguments, you know. So it's all be like, oh well, men do this, and it's like no though. Like you're the one that's saying men are weak, but then when you're using men for your argument, you're almost arguing it like I'm the perfect guy. I don't cheat. I have everything going, and like what? But it's not. It's normally just like a broke dude and a broke woman, and it's just like very rare. And I just think men need to be more accountable for like they could do better too. You know, like I was explaining to you, right? Like I was saying, like you know. We talking about like men work and shit, and then I remember, and we all do it too. Like when you started your job and mine too, like you were coming home and like bitching about it every day, like bitching about me too. Like, you know, you know, bitching about it. So if you're a woman and you like your man comes home every day just bitching about his job, I'd be like turned off by that too. Especially when a man's pitch is I'm a provider, I'm like strong, I'm your leader, and if like you're cheating and you're not even doing that, like I feel like what the fuck is it? Like I'm with women, like I wouldn't be attracted to that either, you know. But like men are so delusional that they think that they're just delusional. Like most men I talk to are delusional, and like Kevin Samuels will interview like women and shit, right? They're saying stupid shit like, oh, I'm gonna have lashes, lash business, or I'm gonna get my real estate license. But guess what? Every fucking helper I have, guess what I say? Every time I'm like, yo, what do you, because I try to help guys and shit that are younger. Every fucking time I'm like, what do you want to do? He'd rather say he says a rapper or a streamer, you know? So they have the same fucking delusions that the women do. And like the one guy, I'm like, you want to be a streamer? And I asked him like, what camera? He didn't know anything, bro. He didn't know a camera. And I'm not even talking shit. Like this is like, if I had more time with him, I'd explain all this. I'm not even talking behind his back, but he didn't know the camera. He didn't know the program, nothing. And I was like, before that, I'm like, how much you want to make a year? He's like 500,000 a year. I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, stream, you know? I'm like, how, who, what, when, where? We're like, how are you going to do that? But like, that's so he's like not even trying in life because he has this delusion that he's going to be some high value man too, like whatever. So I think both sides are getting delusional, and that's why I'm trying to have these conversations about that men can do way better. And even when a good man tries to show them what to do, they don't even listen, or they make fun of them. You know, that's just my point on that. You know,
like. You know, like what I could really say about that is just men are being raised wrong, especially you gotta look at the household.
I'm glad you said that. Okay,
you know, you definitely gotta look at the household, especially how, you know, we're all being raised. You know, some of us are blessed. We had our fathers, we had guidance. You know, and that helped us out. But being raised by a single mother, a lot of these men, you got to look into consideration, take a lot of their mother's traits. Mm-hmm. And they become feminine. You know, they would do pretty much what they see what their mother would do and think that is providing. Okay. And will act out in the same order depending on what they see in their mother did. They get the insecurities, they get the rage, they get the bitchiness from their mothers and stuff like that. Yeah. And
Like they say, the scariest man is the scariest person on earth is like an emotional man,
A weak man.
Oh.
Yes.
a weak man. I've heard
Yes.
about, but yeah, damn, okay, I'm glad. Okay, I'm glad we're here. Oh, you know what? See, that's why I'm glad
Watch your step.
That's why I'm glad we had. Oh my God, is everything? So, all right. So if you have like a broken home, okay, there's not like a mother and there's not a father, right? Mm-hmm. So who's to blame for that? So when you know what I'm saying, like when you trace it, there's a kid that doesn't have a mom and a dad at the home, right? And like the mother always gets all the blame, but like what I think happened was fucking like during the crack era, you know, because they always talk about fucking they always talk about like back in the 50s and the 60s and shit, like, you know, like the black community was like thriving, was doing good. Of course it was racism, but like homes were together. I think it's like 12% kids were born out of wedlock, like in the 40s and 50s and shit, you know? And then everybody talks about like something happened. It was like the crack era. And then what happened is like all these husbands ended up going to jail. Okay, and the mothers were left alone to like take care of everything, you know? And then so like the women get a lot of blame for how those men were raised, which are the men that are raising the new men, but it's like it really wasn't even their fault they were single. And then now it just got to a point where, you know, it's just like damn near a fucking, it's like a draw right now. Like they're like fuck men, and then like men are like fuck women. You know, like that's where it's at. You know, yeah. It's bad, dude. It's really bad. It's like that shit needs to get fixed. You know, because like both, but it sucks as I do understand like what you're saying, like women. But yeah, I guess like no, I'm not. Like what I'm saying is, if a man his point is to provide and be strong and shit, it's like then no shit women are gonna be like picky about the guy they want, and then with money, you know, and it just makes sense is all I'm saying, is all I'm getting at. Like, but they kind of get like, I don't know, you know, and then just like when like a man gets a woman pregnant, it's like he could wear a condom too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but I would say it's also the woman's responsibility to make sure he puts on a condom. But you also got to take back in those times that women used to just go and leave their kids at the police station, at the firehouse. You know, like a lot of women was doing that. That was a thing before abortion. So when you look at kids not being born with, you know, both parents in a home, that is a cause. You know, the crack pandemic was another reason, but that was prevalent a lot in the U.S. Like,
yeah, that was huge.
A lot of kids you see that were in adoption as babies.
But that's where all the friction started, which is true. Then it's like not their fault. Because like the problem was men were going to jail for selling drugs, and then like whose fault is that? Let's take a woman, okay? Let's take, this is black, white, Asian, whatever. Let's say you have a woman and then like the man goes to jail for selling drugs. Like how is that her fault? Like the man, so like she's raising like a boy, and yeah, he's gonna be like feminine and angry, but it's like she is angry, she is stressed out, she's like barely getting by, she has like 4 kids from some guy, he goes to fucking jail, and like that's generational trauma. Like that mom, how the fuck is she not supposed to pass on that trauma to her daughter? It's just like a natural progression. Like I just feel like it's not that, like I said, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it was good, everything was good. And then like, and Instagram, right? So it was like the standard and that at the same time. It just, you know, I don't know, dude, you know what I'm saying? I just...
Yeah, but like if you want to look at modern times now, it's just that women would just, you know, like I said, goes to accountability.
What's your biggest beef? What's your, like, let's settle this right now. What's your biggest beef overall? Just like, what's the most annoying part of women? It doesn't even have to be an argument. I'm just letting you, like, just asking you. What is like, you know?
For me, it's just women don't want to learn and understand men as a whole. I think women are oblivious to men's feelings. They take things out of consideration, and they use these terms as toxic when a man is trying to set boundaries. Because I cannot lead if you don't listen to me. And that's the thing with women. When you look at submitting, it's like bad. It's like, oh my gosh, that's like, oh, I have no control of myself. I'm a grown woman. I can do whatever I want. And that's where it comes from. Because most women don't know how to submit. Because their mothers don't teach them.
I know, and then I'm just saying because I'm giving not an excuse, a reason. How about that? Does that sound better? Like I'm giving you the reason why women are like that, but I'm not saying it's like an excuse or like whatever. I think that's why, and like I think men. Dude, it's like in my life, like I've always just been kind of like a natural leader. Like me and Kirby like never talked about submitting or like a leader or whatever. Like I just like naturally kind of like started a family and like always like show up, and like that's why I tell you I never call off, because I want to see my daughters. Like I don't want to call off a lot because like I want my daughters to see like every day I wake up and go to work, you know. I want them to see that, you know. And you know, it just like naturally she just trusts me. And when her ex-boyfriend wasn't like alpha, right, and she walked all over him. The same girl, okay, like she always said she was like a bitch to her ex and she feels bad, right? She said she like feels bad and like she was just really mean to him and just like stupid shit. Like they're in their 20s, but like just not really being like real like protective in some situations, or just like knowing what to do in life and shit. And she walked all over him, and then she gets with me and she's like pretty submissive, like for the most part, like as much as a modern woman can be, because we do have to be realistic with women now. They're not going to be like how they were in the 50s and shit. The best you can get, like she stays at home with the kids. People that know, she stays at home with the kids, and like she fights and she'll give me attitude and shit. But that same girl, depending on the man, changed how her submission. And I guess I'm saying that like I don't think men are worthy of submission, and the men that do get submission are the most of the men who deserve the submission. That's why they're getting the submission. And a lot of guys, they think they deserve it, but they end up just getting with like toxic women that are like equal to them, and then just not really like. I bet you if you could go back to your past relationship, like don't you see mistakes you made?
Of course.
Okay, so that proves that like you went about it all wrong. Like just knowing what you know now. Like I'll believe that. Like maybe not even her. I know there's some situations they won't, but maybe, just maybe, your ex, it could have been a whole different relationship based off. Just in general, let's say not the exact examples, but just in general, you can start. A man can, knowing what he knows now, can go back and maybe get a little more dominance or a little more submission, but it just turns into that because she starts to resent the guy, and then you know we get stuck, and so I just wonder, some of these girls that are whatever, if they were with the right guy, like Kevin Samuels, they're submissive for him, but that same chick would walk over another guy. That same motherfucking chick would. But somehow, how does Kevin get in? You have to know how to pick them. So if you are in bad relationships, then you don't know how to pick them, and then that's your problem. So because they say when a woman gets with a bad guy, they'll be like, oh, why'd you pick him? Well, the same thing with a guy. When you're bitching about your ex, why'd you pick her? So you have to like understand like who am I picking and why am I picking, and just like Andrew Tate said, like he's like, I don't want to have sex with girls that don't have a future. So maybe men do need to stop being such players and fucking everything. It's like, because like masculine, they say, you know, you can do whatever you want, you can cheat, but like maybe a true masculine man is a man that's in control of his desires instead of led by them. Yes. You know, and it's like, so you're seeing the top guy in the red pill saying, you know what, looking back, man, you know, it's bad. It was just bad. But then, like, people just chase the ideology, and then, like, so most people will agree with him now. Like, yeah, you're right. That just proves he's, like, steering everybody, like, what he thinks. He can say anything, you know? And so to see that he's, like I said, to bring back my quote, like, seems like old people get more conservative the older they get. So the older Tate is getting, he's saying that's not good. And then you got Fresh and Fit with Myra, like, fuck every bitch, yeah. And I know he's high value. That's basically what they're saying. Like, yeah, I'll fuck 30 bitches. I don't give a fuck. But it's like most men want my situation. They want to be married with kids. So why you listen. You get what I'm trying to say? You know, like, yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's more my beef with Fresh and Fit. Kevin Samuels, what he said to women was like, he's like a goat, dude. I don't even really have it, you know. But it's more my beef with Fresh and Fit. You know, that energy.
I believe Kevin Samuels hold women more accountable.
Yeah, they're different. When you admit they're different.
Fresh and Fit is more like, you know, they like to make fun of everything.
Yeah.
I think it's more like a joke. They like, you know, to... And you think Kevin Samuels is harsh, but he's not harsh. He's just, you know, it's just...
It's different.
He's asking these women what happened, who left the relationship. When you look at statistics, it shows that women leave these relationships. Men are not breaking these homes.
Yeah.
These women will have a decent man, a guy that's there already, that's going to do for you. But these women will break that depending on their career and when they go in life. One thing I took away from Fresh and Fit is when he said that when you're dating a girl and she goes back to school and she's getting a bachelor's degree and you could be a plumber, you know, you didn't really go to school, whatever the case may be. Once that girl goes to school or graduate, she's going to eventually leave you for someone else of a higher stature.
Right.
And women are just more masculine, so you see how like men, we don't care about how much a woman will make, because you know when you like reach a certain point, we don't really care about that. But for women, they actually care about that. Plus they have their own career, so they really won't be able to submit to you while holding a career, because they do whatever they want already, and that's where it stops there.
All right, all right. We're gonna clip that out. I have to. There's only 1 minute left. What you just said is a very good point. Okay, and that's why this whole thing is like a problem, because like you're 100% right. You know that like sometimes even a great man, a woman will still leave him just because he's like boring, right? So like that's why where Kevin Samuels shines, right? The woman that like left just because, right? So he's trying, and this is for all women, that like at some point it's almost like settling is so far gone that it's never coming back. Once that's gone, it's just gone. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's ever going to get back to like women are going to be able just to settle, because like this is the whole economy. Like just in general, as humans, none of us can settle. You know, like we'll get a new car and it's like not enough, or we'll get an apartment, then we want a house, and then we get a job but we want a better job. Like we do the same thing that like women do with men. Like, so we constantly just want more, whereas men, we aren't as picky once we have a girl. Okay, now what I want to talk about is, does a guy not leave his woman because he loves her more, or does he just not leave her because because of divorce and alimony, right? So he knows he'll get fucked, and B, just out of ego. So he might be like, I don't even like this girl, but fucking I don't want her fucking somebody else, so he'll never even leave her. Like if with the ego plus the divorce, like that's probably why you see women leave men most of the time, because like that's the situation a lot, you know? So men will act like, oh, we just love you no matter what. It's like, no, not really. Like most men do kind of want to love conditionally too. Whereas like people say women love conditionally, but men do too. Like technically you guys want like a girl, and you want her to be like perfect, and you want to cheat on her, and you kind of like, so if you cheat, it doesn't count, and we can get into the cheating thing and stuff. So it's like, no shit, a man doesn't leave, because hypothetically, like according to like all these things, like what they say is like, man, get someone on the side. So like women, they can't, technically like they can't cheat, but like men can cheat. And it's like, that's why I think women leave men more, because like men plus ego, most men aren't, unless she's batshit crazy, aren't gonna just like throw her to the street and be like, here, you can have her. Like it's like you want to like have something on the side and then like and have her. So to me, it just makes sense why men stay more, hypothetically, if that's kind of you know.
Yeah, but I
So an
could,
element of it, just an element of it. I'm not saying the whole thing.
yeah, but I could give a little bit of pushback to that.
Yeah.
To the way I look at it with men in a relationship, I feel that men commit in a relationship where this is forever. We're going to be in this relationship. That's just what it is. Women do not commit in relationships, and this is something that's not being discussed a lot. When you are dating a woman, y'all together, and everything is growing great, it's because you're a nice guy. She's getting everything she wants, and everything is good and to that point. But when you start to get a little bit complacent, and when they're not getting the needs that is being met, they start to be like, I'm bored, I need to be entertained, because we live in a dating market where that women are bailed out of everything. So if they're not happy, you have their friends to say, go on girl, blah 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 blah, you deserve better. And the guy's not doing anything but just being there with you most of the time. So my whole thing is, women don't know how to commit to a man, and they
Right.
won't even submit to a man because they feel that that is beneath them. They feel like that is something, degrading. So you never even allow the man to lead to begin with, right? So
Yeah.
if this is somebody you respect and you love, you're going to allow him to lead. And it's your job as the woman. Like you hear from Michelle Obama, she said the same thing about Obama. Most of the time she was doing 70, he was doing 30.
Yeah.
I was doing 80, he was doing 20.
What do
Then
you
it-
mean? Well,
as far as in the relationship, as far
Oh,
as
yeah.
paying for everything, because she was the breadwinner and then he went to go do this, and that's how the relationship worked. Because a lot of women would tend to be like, you know what, they can't really be in a leadership position for too long, because that type of pressure, women's gonna be bailed out. Because you gotta think about it, they can't take accountability. So if something goes wrong, a woman just going to pretty much try to bail out of that, and
Right.
don't want to be in that situation because she is solely dependent on that man to lead. So, but a lot of women are in this masculine role where they feel that they have to do things themselves because that's what they're accustomed to, with the independent woman, and that's what they're accustomed to.
wasn't that? Keep going.
Yeah. So
No, I guess we're good. So, I guess, I was just like thinking about it while you were talking. Like, I guess I just want to be clear. I basically all I've been saying is like where I think the woman's mind is at. I'm not saying it's like right or not. Just hypothetically, I'm kind of saying like where I think like they're seeing it from, or like why they're doing it, or like you know what I'm saying. And like I just had this random thought that like I feel like a lot of men, it's like an ego thing, but it's like almost so deep that like. It's hard to explain. It's almost like I always say like racism. Like if you really go deep into racism, I feel like it's jealousy. Okay? Like when you take like say a white man from like Mississippi, right? If you really look at most of them, they're like fat, or just saying like in the country or something, they're fat, they're overweight, they might have like a small dick, they can't dance, they're not rhythmic. So like when like some black guy comes around and he's like put together and shit, like he's hating, but deep down he's jealous. Like that black guy could beat the fuck out of you, and he's fucking better looking than you, he's a better athlete than you, he's stronger than you, he might have a bigger dick than you, and then you come around his women and then they start hating. So it's like the underlying jealousy thing. So but you'll never get a racist man to admit he's jealous of a black guy, but I think he is, and I think like even sometimes with like maybe with black people, like there is some little elements where you're like jealous of the power or something, where like you know what I'm saying, or just like the privilege, like there's like this underlying like hatred because you're almost like you know what I'm saying. So like when it comes to men with their women, like I'm not even saying this proves anything, I'm just wondering, as a man, is it more like you're just loyal, or it's your ego that we don't like? It's like we just kind of just like the way we're built and the way we are, and that's just a random thought. But like women do have to learn how to settle more, like they do, or they're gonna be single forever. Cue the woof woof or dog lady. So there's like both elements where like women do need to go back to settling. But I guess what I was just getting at is like we're all just, I guess I understand the wanting, the way we want more with like that. That's how they are with like men, and like I don't know if it can be stopped. I guess is all I'm saying.
I'll make this real short. When you look at
don't know if it can be stopped.
when you look at women who don't want to settle, who don't want to submit, you gotta look at it like this. And a lot of people gonna fucking hate me for saying this. Women are like children, right? They need guidance. They need supervision. They need to be protected. So you gotta think about as a substitute teacher. If the kids don't respect you, they're gonna run amok on you. Just like I'm saying with your woman, you're not somebody of authority because she's a child.
Yeah.
She's gonna throw her tantrums, walk all over you. You're gonna be sitting here kissing her ass and coddling her and all this other extra shit. And once she figures that shit out, I was like, hold on, this guy is like, he's not a leader.
If women. All right, so if women, hypothetically, if women are children and they're child, then why are so many of them just like running all over men? You know, if men are like so teachers and all that, like it's like, are women really that much stronger that they just like break men and they like dominate? Most of them are like masculine as fuck. Now I had a joke that said, I don't even know if this is true. I had a joke in this book I'm writing. I said, you know, women aren't becoming masculine. Men are just becoming more feminine. But like, it might, that's just kind of like, or, you know, it's just kind of a joke. But, you know, women, I don't know. I just see a lot of like weak men out there, I guess is what I see. Like, and like I see the relationship and like, I'm thinking of an exact relationship where the woman walks all over the man, and I guarantee that shit wouldn't happen to me. The same girl who I'm thinking of, it'd be a whole different thing, you know? So, that's kind of, I guess, where I'm getting at. That men need to be stronger too, and like learn how to lead and shit. That's all I'm getting at too. Like men can do better with leading and being like a good, like, okay, just being better. Like men can work to be better too. Because we could talk about the perfect guy, but there's also a lot, like, so we always, when we think of women, we always think of like the worst. But with men, in your head right now, you're thinking of like the good guy, the good guy, the good guy. You're ignoring all the bad guys. You know what I'm saying? Like there's lots of shitty fucking guys. If there's like a little neighborhood, how many good fucking men right now that are actually want a family and like want to do the right thing and they're traditional too, how many men really are there? I guess I don't think as many as men think.
I believe there are a bunch of men.
The whole generation's lost.
There are a bunch of men out here in this world that could be potentially great fathers, great mates.
The same with moms is what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of good women too.
You know where these guys are at? They're in the friend zone.
Yeah, I mean,
we got, like I said, we got to hold women accountable. They could pick this nice, decent guy that's
a cop out.
Listen.
See, that's like a cop out though to me.
See,
like,
women don't want to settle, but they want the man to settle for them.
See, I'm actually glad you just said that because you just said like there's a man that's. You see, you're assuming like she has a friend that would be worthy of. But what I think a lot of that friend think they're a leader, but they're not, or they think they're high value, or they're not. And then it's like, what true alpha leader would be friend zoned? You think Andrew Tate's gonna be like friend zoned,
no.
Or like so like if maybe that guy isn't what she needs. Maybe that guy is the pushover that she's talking about.
You gotta look at it from the woman.
But you're assuming the friend.
A masculine woman would not date Andrew Tate.
Yeah, so I guess
you gotta look at it from. You gotta look what masculine woman. I'm a man.
So a man that gets with a masculine woman then isn't Andrew Tate and that type of guy.
You gotta look at it. Masculine women fit very well with feminine men because they want to be in that man position, and that's why they can walk all over these guys. But you take that masculine woman and put her with a masculine man, that guy's not going to tolerate that shit. Like, this not going to work.
Or she'll, it's one or the other. Like, rather she won't or she will. Like I was saying, like Kirby, she technically like her ex-boyfriend would be like, nah, you know, like she too like masculine or what, like the energy of whatever, because Kirby or she had to like take care of everything, and she kind of like was masculine in that relationship, right? And what I'm saying is like she got with me and that shit didn't happen. So a lot of these men that are like getting just walked over all by women, all I'm asking is maybe This is all I'm asking. This is all I'm fucking saying. I'm not taking anybody's side or anything. I'm saying if you're a man and you keep ending up in toxic relationships and you keep ending up with masculine men, well, remember what you said. Andrew Tate wouldn't tolerate that. So if you're going to follow Andrew Tate and you're going to just like, then you should be like him in a sense of like not tolerating with masculine women. And then when you're courting women and you do find the submissive one, then there you go, you know? But if you keep just like getting in all these toxic relationships with masculine women without looking at yourself and wondering, why am I getting all these? They always say like women are as good as their baby father, but like in a way, like a guy who just has terrible baby mamas, it's like, couldn't you say like that's his worth? You know, so like all I'm asking is like for men to dig deep and like really look back on these bad relationships and ask what they could have done better, because everybody right now on that red pill is focused on the woman, and that's all I'm asking. I know there's good women, and I know they get fucked over by women, and I know there's good fucking women who get fucked over. I know a perfect fucking mom, 40 years old. She's the perfect, she took care of the house. Everything, right? She did everything right. She didn't go to clubs, nothing. Guess what? Her husband fucking left her for a whole nother family for no fucking reason, you know? So it's like men are doing that shit too. There's like this whole thing like men don't do this and women do that, and I just don't think that's true. Like I think, you know,
there are some scumbag men out there.
Tons of them.
Don't get me wrong, but those are the guys who are very arrogant, who are narcissistic, who never really love their wives, or just using these women that was just draining them. You have those type of guys, of course, and it's, you know, unfortunate for these women to actually meet a guy like that. But it goes back to accountability, like what I said before. Women are the gatekeepers to sex. Men make relationships, women move in. So the woman decide if she's going to deal with this man or not. And sometimes women would overlook that this man could have a lot of potential women chasing him, because another thing too that we don't talk about, women are not going to date a guy that other women are not attracted to that wants him. That's because the guy becomes boring. When you have a boring boyfriend that no girl wants, and it's not, women need excitement, like they like children.
Well,
like
then,
I said.
okay, so what I'm saying to a man who is a good woman, if you don't want your wife to leave you, maybe he could do better. Like maybe like a good guy. I actually had this argument on YouTube, this comment about it, like, oh, a nice guy. But like just being a nice guy, like you can do, like maybe you are boring, maybe you are complacent, like maybe surprise your wife here and there and take her on like a weekend cruise or something, or whatever the fuck. Like try to be exciting, like try new things in bed, and like is it so hard maybe for like a man to like that he can do better too, is all I'm asking. This is even for like husbands out there.
But here's a question I have for you.
All right.
What is a requirement for you believe for a man to lead? What is what is the necessary requirements in that role?
Okay, I would say,
you think that a woman would be, you know,
I say number one, this is like my advice for, I say this is gonna be like a weird one, like humor.
Okay.
Humor's huge. If you can make a girl laugh, you'll always have her heart. I'm telling you, dude. You know?
Okay.
And then B, strong work ethic. Right?
Okay.
Great work ethic, not crying about work. Okay. Number 3, I will say positivity. A man that can always take a family who's hysteric and calm it down. Like I remember, like there's a couple times with my family, like it's really bad, and I try to be the leader and pull everybody in, like it's gonna be okay. Okay.
Right.
And behind the scenes, sometimes, you know, right. You know, I try to be like a leader and like that, right? I'm not religious, but it's more of like a vibe. So, but a lot of guys just say religion, I'd say vibe. Keep the vibe good, whatever. And then when it comes, and then high value man, a steady income, like a decent income, okay? Like I'm talking like for me in my head, like a good guy or whatever, right now, which is the way life is, like at least a man should be making at least like 80K.
Okay.
I think if you're a man and with the internet and all this technology, you can make 80K. 100%. There's like, I'm not saying it's easy, but you can, you know,
Okay.
there's jobs out there. Right? So at least that's a respectable income for me, okay? But even less, like even 60, okay? But
Okay.
no, 80. And another high value thing, and then I would say, okay, and then here we go. And I say, like faithful, like a faithful husband, okay, that he's like actually like faithful. I'm not saying he has to be like perfect and like, you know what I'm saying, but just overall, like he's not fucking all these girls, he's not seeing text messages and all that shit. And yeah, and I'd probably say we can get into the cheating thing and shit, right? But yeah, I would say I'd probably have a couple more. But yeah, like a guy like that, and then like sex wise, like he's like he'll try new things, like he'll actually like not just be like a boring lay, like he'll actually like want to give her an orgasm, because I know guys in the red pill say a women's orgasm doesn't matter. That's the dumbest shit. I'm
Oh my
glad.
gosh.
You know what? I'm glad. I'm glad I just brought that up.
I'm not with that. You didn't quote me.
I know
on
you're
that.
not. I know, but it's like Myron's trying to tell people that like a woman's orgasm doesn't matter.
How
right?
dare you?
And it's like, so a lot of guys I hear say that, tons of them, and then they wonder why the wife leaves. And like, there's wives who like haven't had an orgasm in like 10, 15 years. You know, I'm not even
Jesus
saying it's
Christ.
an excuse to leave. I'm just saying, right? So if you're nothing what I said, and like to me, like I feel like that type of man, and he doesn't take shit, right? Like he doesn't take shit. Like he would not, like if a woman like barks at him, he barks back louder. You know, and you can ask Mrs. Prophet, dude. Like when she barks, I bark louder. It's just how it fucking goes. Sometimes I'll not let it go, but in general, like, you know, like if I get mad, then it's like people know like I'm mad because like the house knows, you know, and that's what's important about having a man in the house, you know. My wife will try to tell them to do shit. They don't listen. I come home, slam the door, and they just like look at me and run, you know, like to the couch, you know, like daddy's home. And that's very important, you know. But so all I'm asking, you know, we'll probably wrap this up, but like, I'm just asking, maybe take a step back from hating women and think, what could you do better? Because the more you're just thinking about women, you're not thinking about yourself. And I know a lot of guys out there, tons of them, and they can do better. You know, I know they can do better. And I don't blame men for what's like women and shit. Like I get it. You're 100% right. In the standards, women have to do better too. I'm just wondering like if with the woman, I can get like, you know, her to like lower her standards. And if a man ups his, I feel like that's like a good meet in the middle almost. Cause it's like she's lowering it and you're going to up it a little bit. And like, and if she cheats, then she's going to fucking cheat. At the end of the day, I could cheat. My wife could cheat. You could cheat. And like at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And like Kevin always says, like if you go into a relationship with fear, like it's gonna end, you know. And men are doing the same thing. He always says like to a woman, like, oh, you know, if men are paranoid about women, and like I get it, but I think a lot of men are just choosing the wrong women, and I think there are, and I think you should just know. I guess another thing I'm gonna say is like when you know they're toxic, just get out. Just get out. I get it. There's tons of toxic women. You hang out with her, you fuck, she's drama. I'm done with you. I don't got time for this shit. That's all I'm fucking asking. You know, is that so much to ask for?
But you got some men that they feel like this is their only option, and you know they just wind up staying there. So
What? I didn't really understand that point.
you know, you see how guys will mess with like a toxic woman, right?
Yeah.
For example, and usually that be his only option, and feel like, damn, if I let this girl go,
If he bettered himself, would it be his only option?
No, of course.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But this is the narrative
He needs
that
to do-
I felt that Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fish trying to get men on. Like, you know, if
Yeah.
I had them 10 years ago, it would have saved me a lot of headache.
Yeah.
Especially dealing with women, be like the whole nice guy.
No, I agree.
You just
100
come off very you're not genuine.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a facade. Even though you could be very nice and do whatever she want, it comes off as a facade. The bad guy, you know exactly what they're going to get. Trouble. So, you know?
Hello? Sorry. No, what did it say? Okay. Alright. So, sorry. So, what'd you just say?
Pretty much, damn, I lost
It's
my
all
train of
right.
thought.
Exactly. We'll wrap it up. So what I was gonna say is like, fuck, I know, I forget what you just said. Oh yeah, like so, like the man can do. I said like, can the man do better? So like, what I'm saying is like Kevin Samuels, it's good, blah blah blah. He's telling women to like do better to get better. So and then you're saying with Myron that he does say that, okay? And I guess I'm just pointing out to me, the things I don't like about Fresh and Fit, because the overall thing that's great, but I feel like the delusion kicks in where like they actually are saying to do better, but men are just like watching men do better and thinking they are. The same way women are like watching Cardi B. So like most men are actually not bettering themselves. A lot, not all, but they think they are. But they're doing the same thing every day expecting different results.
Yeah, but you see the thing with Fresh and Fit, he's holding these men accountable, telling them get their fat asses in the gym, work on your body, work on yourself, don't talk to these girls.
Yeah, I just think most aren't. I think most. Yeah,
that's the number
I agree.
one thing. He get your shit together. Don't be going up to these women. Know your worth. Get your body together. Get your mind. Focus on yourself. Then you go out and you explore, but you can't just do that on a limb. So I understand what you were saying about guys thinking that
they think
I'm
are
high value and things of that nature.
That's all I'm
especially
saying.
Watching these guys, I'm like, dude, you don't got your shit together. You don't got no money.
That's the guys I'm speaking about, because you're right. Like there are. So I guess like, see, that's the problem. Like in these conversations, we're talking about who we're talking about. Does that make sense?
Right.
So like in a way, it's to be like not all, but it's like no, we're almost just talking. So I'm talking about the guys that could do better, and you're talking about the women, whatever. And we all know there's like people that aren't like what we're talking about, right? Like men and women, and hold on, I just want to say one more thing. Oh, like here's another. Okay, I'll give you here. Here's a funny example. All right.
Okay.
It was like a Kevin Samuels thing. Okay, so like here's an example to me of like listening to somebody and thinking everything they're saying is right with their like logic, but it's not. Okay, so I was listening to Kevin Samuels, and he was like, a woman was like, well, that's not fair. That's not fair, right? And Kevin was like, fair? He's like, see, that's the thing about men. He was like, we aren't fair, right? He's like, men, we aren't fair. We don't try to be fair. Like we aren't fair. Like it's whatever, right? Women always want fair, men don't. He's like, he's like, men wage wars. You think that's fair? Right? He like used that as a thing. Like we wage wars. Like you think we're fair people? But actually, it's funny because a study recently came out that the historian went back and showed that with a woman ruler or president or whatever, they have a 27% higher chance of starting wars. Like they started wars when women were leading 27% at a time. And so like really he's saying like men start wars, like we're not fair, but like women statistically actually like do too. So like using that exact point for that point, it seems like he nailed it, but when you look it up, it's like it's a kind of a stupid point. I'm just saying like an example of like they'll use examples that don't even really make sense, And then Myron, then I'll listen to Fresh and Fit, and they'll be like, women, you couldn't lead. He's like, we like we start war, or like women are, or then women say. And then men say, you couldn't be president. There'd be war every day because you guys get your period and you guys are crazy. But then Kevin's saying, like, you guys don't start war. So, like, what is it? Like, Myron's saying, you couldn't be a leader because you guys are irrational and you'll start wars. And Kevin's saying, like, no, women are always think everything's fair. Like, that's why we're leaders, because we start wars and we're not fair. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But
like, little points like that.
The way I look at it with Myron, he would say, well, what Kevin Samuels was giving his input on is that well, I won't go with Fit right now. So what he means by that is that women go off emotions. Like, like can you imagine in a situation, I think Andrew Tate said this, like you're flying a plane, would I allow a woman to fly the plane or a man? I will allow a man to fly the plane. And he said the reason why men have they have more fortitude and they have more I forgot what the word is, mostly what most NASCAR drivers have, most men have, we can make split-second decision. Women don't know how to do that. There's that's it is what it is. And
and I guess see I'm like, that's why I'm too nuanced, like that's why sometimes my arguments I know are stupid, right? Like I know that Destiny dude gets into the same things, like because you're right, and I guess I'm just saying like sometimes they use examples, like I guess all I'm saying is like Kevin saying like women we're not fair that because we start wars. So he's like saying like women wouldn't start wars, but like then the other side saying like women would start wars. Like that's all I'm saying. Like sometimes a lot of the ideologies like conflict with each other is all I'm really getting at.
Pretty much, he was like pretty much saying women can't really lead a nation. So when you look at the first female president in the country, you got to look at, and you guys could just Google this, New Zealand. And that country's to shit because they have a woman running.
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I'm not
and
saying.
she's not even taking accountability for her bullshit.
Yeah, I think men are running our country to shit too. I think we're all just doing. But no, I'm not. Again,
Yeah, but I would say
know what you're
from
saying.
this country, other people are running the country. I think the president is just a puppet. He's not really running the country.
But I know what you mean. Like I know the whole thing. You know, like so. I guess, damn, it's gonna be over. Like I'm just gonna have to end it. Let me see how much time is left. 18 seconds. So, anyways, camera's gonna die. I don't want to load it again. It'll take forever. So, it was good having you.
Thank you,
We'll
my
do
brother.
it again. We kind of like are just getting started in a way. Don't you feel like we still have like way more to talk about?
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. So, this is The Social Prophet with What the Fuck But Why. Peace.
Obey the prophet when he speaks, and you'll be blessed. Disobey him, it is
Wow, you're looking at me. Look down. You see that, right? Behind my laptop down here. Subscribe. Support. Seriously, you know, we work our asses off to supply content to you. So pay it forward. Pay it back. Like our channel. God damn it. Shout out Styles.